Hey loves, this is Janelle Belgrave of SoAbove.com, and today I'm going to make a video that talks about how to create a birth chart using Astro.com. So today I'm going to do a little screen sharing so I can walk you through it. And basically I'm creating this video because for a while now, whenever I'm on Twitter talking about astrology, people often ask me, how do I create my own birth chart? And it's really easy, it's really simple, and Astro.com is an amazing resource. So I just wanted to show it to you. So whenever we talk about astrology on Twitter or online or in other places, you can quickly bring up a chart of your own or anybody else's and start following along. And it's just a great way to learn how to do astrology, okay? So let's start doing a screen share. Let's see. And we're going to go over to Astro.com. As you can see, this is Astro.com. This place is pretty amazing. I'm pretty sure it's been online for at least 20 years, maybe even longer, because this is one of the first sites I ever went to when I was first learning astrology when I was about 12 or 13, and that was a good 18 years ago. So one of the things that you can do here is create your chart. Many different charts if you like, but there's also great resources, great articles, things of that nature. So I definitely encourage you to go to Astro.com and just poke around a little bit. You got some free daily horoscopes, some other chart generators that you can use for your own self and read up about your own personality, like money and success. They show you all the different planets where they are in the sky right now. I actually use this when I'm doing Sky by Jai in the morning. Because it shows you exactly where the planets are in the sky. But anyway, for us, we need to create an account, which is pretty easy. So let's go to login. I already have an account set up. It's pretty easy to do, but let's do this one together then. So let's use my other email address. If you have an autofill, it puts it in for you. Let's create a password. Definitely choose something that you know, because so many times I've been locked out because I can't remember my password because I'm usually always logged in. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, miss. There we go. Okay. So we have a brand new account. So it's going to take you to a page where it's going to ask you to fill in your user profile. But you can also add astrology info here if you want. So it's going to ask you to add astro data, which we can totally do. And I'll show you a different way of doing this too. So let's pick a random person. I personally have chosen Barack Obama because he has been pretty influential in the news lately because, you know, he's been telling people not to pop off, and I always think that's amazing. So let's just put in his birth information. So it's going to ask you to put in the birth date, the time of birth, and where. The full name and whatnot is optional. So he was born at 7:24 p.m. in Honolulu. Be careful when you're filling out the birth town, because as you can see, Astro likes to give you several different options. Once they start seeing what the name is, make sure you definitely put in your correct birth town, or whoever the birth town that you're filling in the person for. You know what I mean? So here's his birth information. And then after that, we're going to go to free horoscopes and then go over to extended chart selection. You could also go to chart drawing and it'll give you a quick chart, as you can see right here. But for our purposes, we're going to go down to extended chart selection. So here's Barack Obama. And let's click to see the natal chart wheel. One of the things you know once you start exploring is that there's many different chart options. Today we're just going to do the natal chart wheel, but as you can see, there are many different charts that you can choose from. And I'm sure I can make more videos to explain to you what all these charts are and what they do and how you can use them. But anyway, back to natal chart. So we're going to click show the chart. And voila, this is the natal chart of Barack Obama. And this is just showing what the skies looked like at the exact moment that he was born. And this is kind of like a graph or a map of how his life has been playing out, his personality and things of that nature. So let's get into the chart for a second. So I always tell people that the main parts of the chart that you need to see right away are the legs of the chart, which is the sun, the moon, and the ascendant. So the different symbols are the sun over here. So you can see that he is a Leo sun because the sun is in the sign of Leo. He is a Gemini moon down here, as you can see, the Gemini. And he's also an Aquarius rising here at 19 degrees of Aquarius. All of this is reflected again down here in these different keys. So basically these show you what is going on exactly in this circular chart above. So we have the sun at 12 Leo, as you can see, reflected right here. The moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, True North, and Chiron are all reflected, telling you the sign here in the middle and what the degree is, as well as what seconds. So how many seconds into the degree. There's 60 seconds or 59 seconds in degree before it changes over to the next degree. And then also whether or not the planet is retrograde, which is the small r right here. But we don't need to know that for right now. Also, the different angles or different houses are important to know. So as you can see, the rising sign is pretty important, right? Aquarius rising. So the major angles of his chart, as you can see, the midheaven up here is at 0 degrees of Sagittarius. His descendant is at 19 Leo, at the exact opposite point of his ascendant. And then also the midheaven, or sorry, the IC down here at 0 degrees of Gemini. The other thing that you can look at is the different angles in the chart. So aside from the 4 major angles that we just went over, the ascendant, descendant, midheaven, and IC, there are the different houses. So here is telling you where the second house begins, right? So the second house begins at 27 degrees of Pisces, right here. So let's take a look. See, second house right here begins at 27 degrees of Pisces. And so on and so forth, because it's going to tell you where the different houses meet. So you can see there are 12 houses, but only 6 boxes here. And that's because whatever the sign is here, the opposite house has to be the opposite sign. So 27 degrees of Pisces, the opposing house would be the 8th house, because the opposite of 2 is 8 on the natal chart wheel. And then the sign would be 27 degrees of Virgo. So let's take a peek. So 27 degrees of Pisces. Opposite the 8th house is 27 degrees of Virgo. So that will pretty much tell you where everything is lying. Over here we have the breakdown of the elements, fire, air, earth, and water, as well as the different modes. So cardinal, fixed, and mutable. That's just showing how the energy in the chart is moving for the most part. So in Barack Obama's chart, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets in fixed energy. So he's a pretty stable guy. Nothing is really moving him very quickly, at least in terms of changing his mind. 1, 2, 3. But once he's made his mind or has made up the mind to change, he will do so and probably stick with it. And then cardinal, you know, talks about how he starts things off. What else do we need to know? Oh, another thing that we need to know are the aspects. So this little graph here shows us different aspects of the chart above. So basically what aspects are, the wheel is a 360-degree circle, and all the planets kind of play around and talk to each other. That's what we call aspects, how the planets are speaking to one another for the most part. So we have squares, which are kind of conflict energy, oppositions, which is again a little bit of conflict but trying to balance. We have sextiles and trines, a little bit easier, things of that nature. So basically, when you're looking at this graph, we see the sun square Neptune. So let's look at it. Look at the sun square Neptune up in this chart over here. So we have the sun in Leo square to Neptune. See? And that is a 90-degree angle right here. Let's look at another aspect. Let's look at a flowing aspect. Let's see the moon trine Jupiter. So here is the moon right here, and it's trine, a nice flowing aspect, 120 degrees away to Jupiter. So you can tell the red lines are more conflict, aggressive, hard, but powerful energy. They tend to really create good action and momentum. And the trines and the sextiles, or the blue lines over here, they tend to create more easy flowing aspects in the chart. All right, so one more thing that you can do with the natal chart, which is pretty cool, is to look at the transits. So transits are where the planets are right now in the heavens. So when we look at transits, we're looking at where those planets are falling right now in the heavens into Barack Obama's chart. So we can see these green planets on the outside. Those are the current transits around his chart. So we can see that the Sun and Mercury in Scorpio are in his 9th house. So that could speak to him being abroad right now. He's traveling, talking about some pretty serious things concerning Paris and the G20 summit. Those planets are going to cross over his midheaven pretty quickly, probably by the end of the week. We have Saturn up here in the 10th house, so again, owning his authority, things of that nature. We have Jupiter over here in his 7th house, and so on and so forth. So this is just nice to look at when you are examining your chart and wanting to know how the different planets are playing upon you and what's going on for you. Let's see, anything else? Let's look at another chart. So from here, I wanted to show you how to add another chart if you wanted to. So you could add another person here. As you can see, it says add new person, or you can go back to chart selection. You can add a new person here. It doesn't really matter. But just so you know how to get around this website, let's do Vladimir Putin, since he seems to be another big player in the news these days. And he is October 7th, 1952, born at maybe 9:30 a.m. And he was born in St. Petersburg. Where are you? Russia. So we're going to pull up his chart, natal chart wheel, right here. There are also some cool things that you can do. So again, here's Vladimir Putin's chart. Just as we saw Barack Obama's, this is his. So let's look at for the main legs of the chart. So he has that Sun in Libra in the 11th house right here. We have the moon in Gemini. Oh, interesting. Barack Obama and Vladimir Putin have the same moon sign, and they're actually pretty close together. And we have a Scorpio rising right here. We see all his planets in degrees right here. We see his elemental breakdown. And we see all his aspects right here. And don't worry about not knowing how to read a chart right away. It takes a little practice. Like, this stuff was completely foreign to me when I started looking at charts for the first time. I had no idea what I was looking at. This is why Astro.com is a great resource, because you can actually go to the other part of this website. Let's see, they have interactive horoscopes for you to look at. So they can help you to look at your chart. They'll break it down for you. See, moon in the 8th house. Moon in Gemini. We have Sun with all the aspects in 11th house in Libra. So this is just a great way to start to help you get acquainted with your chart or anyone else's chart. But let's go back. So let's do one more chart. Let's go back to extended chart selection. I wanted to look at a chart without a birth time, for example. So let's just say we didn't have the birth time of Barack Obama. So let's add another person. Let's say Barack Obama again, but I'm going to say 2. And this happens a lot. Sometimes we just don't have our birth times. Sometimes our mothers don't remember. Sometimes we don't have our birth certificates. Things like that happen. It's totally happens all the time. Let's say we don't know the hour of birth. So let's just say unknown, okay? Let's go to Honolulu. We don't know the time of birth. So what's going to happen is it's going to give us a chart without the houses and without the rising sign. Why? Because the houses and the rising sign are based upon the time of birth. So without the time, we don't know where any of these planets fall. Okay? So basically, I always advocate for trying to get a hold of your birth time because it does relay a lot of information. So for example, you can see right away in Barack Obama's chart, without the birth time, we don't know if his moon is actually a Taurus moon or a Gemini moon. And that's a big deal. A Taurus moon versus a Gemini moon is a very big difference in someone's personality and how they cope emotionally, right? And this is based upon a hypothetical chart. So this chart says, hypothetically, without a birth time, saying that this person was midday on that day, halfway through the day, maybe this might be what their chart looks like. We don't know. But one of the best ways to figure this out, if you live in the US and you're able to request a long form birth chart, you can ask for it and request it, and typically they will include your birth time on your chart, in your birth chart, and in your birth certificate. Otherwise, you know, word of mouth, asking family members. And the other option is to go to an astrologer, like myself or another, who's really good at chart rectification. And what chart rectification is basically using the major events of your life to kind of do some backwards detective work to put together what your birth time might be based upon what those events are. So let's say, for example, you got married at a certain point in time, or you had kids at a certain time, or you graduated from school, you moved across country. All those things will start to help an astrologer kind of piece together what your birth time would possibly be based upon those clues, okay? And I think that's basically it for this first video. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope that with this information, you guys will go to astro.com, take a little quick peek around, bring up your charts of yourselves or other people, celebrities, family members, whoever, and just get accustomed to working with this program. It's free and it's pretty easy. And like I said, you can do so many things on this website. So let's go back. And I hope that was useful. So if you have any questions, definitely hit me up on Twitter at jchiron18. You can go to my website at soaboveastro.com. And that's basically it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.